Hi, I'm Chuck Parsons, the Training and Education Manager at HPC. Today we're going to actually prepare one of our water and our fire and water features, our Evo 360. We're going to prepare this for the upcoming season. It was winterized in the fall of last year, and of course we're ready to fire this thing up. So again, we're going to go through a couple of things, make sure we get the debris out. We've got a few connections to make, but we'll go over all of that here in just a second. First step for us to do here, obviously, is just a visual inspection. Of course, there's a lot of leaves, debris, things like that in here, so we're going to go ahead and clean the basin up here real quick, and then we'll move on to some other items here. So let's get started. Okay, so we've got the debris out. Of course, things look pretty clean here. The customer did keep this unit covered over the winter. So again, not a whole lot of cleaning to do. You may or may not want to maybe wipe down the bottom of the basin. Obviously dust, dirt, and debris, but we do have a filter in here. So getting the large chunks of the debris out, that's obviously important. So, okay, so as I mentioned a few minutes ago, we've got a filter in here. Our next step here, obviously, we're going to go through this filter, make sure it's good and clean, and obviously if it has to be clean, we'll get it washed. Really just these 4 tabs spin around, and you're going to lift up this section over the filter there, and there's our filter. It's pretty much kind of a hog hair filter. But again, obviously any debris that gets down in there we'll need to clean out. But again, we will get this filter cleaned up. It doesn't appear to be too bad, no moss or anything like that growing in there, so should be pretty simple to get that cleaned up. Okay, so we've seen a little bit of debris down underneath the filter. There is a little bit of water there, but we're going to go ahead and vacuum all of that out. This is just to assure that we don't get any large pieces of debris into the pump itself. Okay, so we've got our well kind of vacuumed out, got all that debris out of there. Of course, we cleaned the filter as well. Pretty easy reinstall. Remember, this is the actual frame for your filter that will go down into the basin. So filter in place, and we can put this back over it now. Filter is all set. Okay, our next step, of course, we've got the filter reinstalled. We're going to go over the autofill float. We just want to make sure it's not hung up or anything like this. But again, that's for your water connection. That's what prevents it from overfilling. Again, it's going to be located on the side of the basin, right underneath this panel here. If you remove that panel, you'll see the float switch there. And right now, really all we want to do is just make sure it's not hung up on anything. You want to check the overflow at this point as well. Just make sure we don't have a lot of debris shoved in there. Again, that's actually your overflow. So obviously that's the water builds up. We don't want it above that level. So of course it flows out of there. So, but in this case, the float switch looks good. No debris in the overfill. So I think we're ready to move on. We'll come back to this float switch. There's a couple of things we need to do, obviously, when we get the water flowing inside here. So we'll come back to that in just a minute. Okay, first, next step here is we are going to loosen this barb here. This is the outlet of the pump. And again, we just want to get that a little bit loose so when we tighten the other end of the pump, we've got a little bit of playroom there. We will have to come back and make sure it's tightened, but again, right now we want that a little bit loose there. Okay, so during winterization, we kind of remove this ball valve from the pump. A couple of things to keep in mind: make sure you don't lose your O-ring there. This O-ring has got a little bit of dirt and debris on there, so I want to clean that up a bit. We just want to make sure that that debris is off of there so we get a good, nice, tight, snug fit here. So really at this point, we are going to go ahead and reconnect this ball valve to the pump. Okay, so as you can see now, that's good and tight for us. Again, as I mentioned earlier, we do need to come around the other side of the pump, and we need to make sure we get that connection tightened up as well. Okay, now we're almost ready to fill this with water, but one thing we want to do is make sure that the pump is open. Obviously this pump is, the valve is open. As you can see, it's in line with the hose and of course the volute from the pump there. So again, I think we're ready to add some water here now. Okay, so we've managed to fill the basin with the water. Of course, you can see our level here. We're just below the overflow here. And again, if we go back to our autofill float, you'll see that that's in the up position. That turned the water off. Obviously, we're good to go here. Next step here, we have to prime the pump, okay? Again, there's no water in the pump at this point, so we need to actually prime that pump. And it's a really simple step. If you come on over here, what we're gonna do is turn the pump on for 3 seconds, then we're gonna turn it off. We're going to turn it back on for another 3 seconds, turn it off again, and then we'll be able to turn the pump on after that second cycle on the prime here. So let's see what happens. Now, one thing we want to do is go around the water scupper here. As you can see, you can get some debris up inside there, and that can affect the way the water flows across the scupper. So our next step here is to kind of clean some of this debris out. You can't really do this without the water running because a lot of that debris will be up underneath the scupper, and it needs that water to kind of flush that out. So, okay, so we've kind of gone around here, left a little bit here. Again, I had mentioned you get some debris up in the scupper here. Really, the best way to get it out is a credit card. But you can see here how some of this debris has affected the flow of the water across there. So we'll just try to get some of that debris out of there. Okay, so we've got the water side ready to go. Looks like everything's functioning great here. We've cleaned the water scupper up. Obviously, we've got her filled. Next thing we're gonna do is just check the lights. Just make sure the lights are working. That's just gonna take a simple slip of the switch here. As you can see, we've got our blue LED lights there. So obviously we've got power, of course. All of the lights are working. Next, we're gonna turn on some gas and fire the fire up. See what happens. We're getting ready to go to the fireside, obviously light this thing up. Of course, it's been shut down all winter. I did pull the lid off of our blowout box. We just want to inspect the pilot, make sure we don't have any dirt, debris, anything interfering with the pilot in there. Thermocouple appears to be pretty clean. Tip of it anyway, so we should be good to go. Okay, we got good flame. Lights, as you can see, those are working. And there's our pump. Voila. All right, guys, so we've kind of brought this thing out of winter. In all honesty, we've got lights working, we've got fire going, pump's doing just fine. He's ready to enjoy this spring and summer. If you guys got any questions at all, please give us a call. Thank you.